Welcome back to the Smoke&Oak YouTube channel, guys. I'm so glad you're here to join us again. I apologize for the long break in uploading. It's been a bit of a crazy time in my life. I've had to adjust a couple of things. As you can see, kind of another temporary setups behind me, working on kind of a more permanent setup to upload some more videos a little bit more regularly. So I'm hoping to try to get on a little bit more regular upload schedule. But I realized in kind of looking back over the last couple of videos that I've posted, and I know it has not been a lot, but I've been able to reflect on kind of the upload schedule and kind of the way that I've been able to do things. And my free time to be able to do both these videos as well as get them edited so I can get them uploaded to YouTube. And it's just been a bit of a struggle to get all that stuff done. And again, time management, things like that. So I'm not trying to make excuses, but I am trying to be real with all the people out there that are watching these videos to kind of understand where I'm coming from. So plan moving forward is to try to get on a little bit better of a consistent upload schedule. I'm going to try to get a video out at least every week. I'm going to change up my video format a little bit, and this intro to this video is kind of a little bit of housekeeping. I promise you we are going to sip on some whiskey here in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of get out there what my plan is moving forward with the channel. So I've noticed that I've been kind of doing videos where I talk very in-depth about the distilleries and we sample some whiskey from said distillery, but we don't necessarily sample them all. Perfect example of that is the Penelope video that I did with the Penelope cask strength video. We sampled the cask strength, but we talked about a lot of the other bourbons that the Penelope Blending Company does, but we didn't actually sample any of them. So I want to try to change the format so that I'm getting through sampling the whiskeys in a video, and then we can go back and we can do kind of a review of the distillery or the blending company as a whole in a separate video. So I still want to do those video formats because that's kind of my thing. I like to talk about the distilleries and learn the history of the company, and all that stuff is always fascinating to me, and hopefully it is to you as well. But I want to get more of the tastings out of the videos as well. So what we're going to try to do is kind of shorter format tasting videos, and then we'll follow that up with separate videos where we kind of do tastings, but also still review the distilleries. That way I can get these videos out there a little quicker. I have a little over 100 videos planned in the pipeline, various blind tastings and things like that I plan on doing, as well as a Christmas gift that I got from my beautiful wife, a sample pack that is, I think it's supposed to be like an advent calendar, but it's 24 individual samplings from scotches all across Scotland, from all the different regions in Scotland. I'm by no means a Scotch expert, but I'm hoping that once I get through that whole box, we'll all have learned a little bit about the history of Scotch and also the different regions and what they have to offer the industry. So kind of a fun idea. I'm also going to be revamping my scoring system with Smoke&Oak. And I'm going to bring that up here in just a second and tell you what I'm planning on doing with that. But I'd like to start putting out there a Smoke&Oak score, my personal score of the whiskeys that I'm sampling, of my personal preferences on these whiskeys. So does it mean anything to the average person out there? No, but if I can score whiskeys and then we kind of see where the scores lie against other whiskeys, hey, eventually we might have kind of a system rolling here. So I'm also updating my social media. So I'm going to start putting those links in the description boxes below. I am on Instagram at the Smoke&Oak 23. I'm on Facebook now at Smoke&Oak. And then obviously the YouTube is at Smoke&Oak 23 as well. So, all right, so for the scoring system, I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I got the detail correct for how I'm going to do this. So the new scoring system is going to be based on 5 separate categories, 0 to 10 rating for each individual category, and the score is going to be averaged out of those 5. So it's going to be a 0 to 10 rating, 10 being great, 0 being terrible, and then we're going to take the 5 categories together, average it out, and that's going to give us our final score. So those categories are going to be nose, right? So nose, what does it smell like? What is the whiskey? What should it smell like? Does it smell like a whiskey should? And this is going to be based on region because we are going to be kind of jumping all over the pond, so to speak. And then does the nose lead into what the mouth is supposed to taste like? Because sometimes you're going to have those whiskeys where they smell fantastic, but they just don't deliver on the taste. And you're going to have other whiskeys that kind of smell kind of bland and flat, but they really come through on the taste. And that's something that should be considered, I think, in a scoring system. So from nose, we'll go right into taste. Does the nose carry through in the taste? That's going to influence my score when I'm scoring whiskey. And then does it deliver what you want in the taste? So for some people, they're really looking for a specific smoky characteristic or a specific sweet characteristic in whiskey. And everybody's going to be somewhat subjective in that. My score is going to be somewhat subjective, but if your palate's like mine, then you're going to understand where I'm coming from on those. Something else I'm going to take into consideration in my score is availability. Is this something you can find on a shelf most places? Now, this is going to be somewhat regionally dependent, and I do understand that. So I'm going to grade it based off where I live, geographically speaking, which is in California. I know I follow SLB YouTube channel, and they talk about how where they live in, I believe it's Indiana, that they don't get a lot of the whiskeys that other states get. I've got some family members that live out in Tennessee. They see whiskeys that I can't see here. I have a couple of them on the shelf we'll be sampling here in the future. Next, which brings me to my next category, priced. Is the price justified by what's in the bottle? Is the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak? The secondary market influences this heavily. So we're going to try to take into consideration secondary prices when we do this, because it's inevitable we're all going to end up having to pay these inflated prices at some point. And then last category, I'm calling the cool factor category. And this is purely subjective. This is just my personal opinion on what I think. Does the whiskey sitting on my shelf make me feel cooler, in the sense of, and I don't mean, do I look cool because I have the whiskey sitting on my shelf? I mean, do I want to have it on my shelf because it has the nostalgic feeling? A perfect example of that is your Blanton's, right? Blanton's is one of those whiskeys where some people love it, some people hate it, some people say it's worth hunting for, some people say it's not worth hunting for. But at the end of the day, does it make you feel good having it on your shelf? Does that feel good because it tastes good, or feel good because it looks good on your shelf? That's up to you. We'll call that the completely subjective score. That is my new scoring system that I'm going to be using. I'm going to try my best to remember to use my scoring system in every one of my videos moving forward, so that you have an idea of what I actually think about the whiskeys that are coming out. But in the meantime, you guys all came here to hear a review of whiskey and not just a bunch of housekeeping nonsense. So with all that being said, let's move on to tasting some whiskey. Tonight, I thought it would be prudent, since we talked about Penelope Whiskey, Penelope Architect. Penelope Architect comes in at 5 years age. It's 104 proof, and it's a 4-grain mash bill, which is what Penelope's known for. This particular one is their build number 7, and they say it's aged 4 years. What makes Penelope Architect kind of an interesting blend is they use French oak staves in the barrels that they age the whiskey in, which gives it a unique flavor. So let's give this one a shot. So right off the nose, right away, immediately, I'm getting lots of caramel, lots of vanilla. It's a very, very nice smell. This 4-grain whiskey, for something about it, I remember this with the Penelope cask strength as well. Something about it is just delicious. There is a little bit of something special in there, and that must be the French oak staves. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but so the nose is very pleasant. Going back to my scoring system, so the nose is very pleasant. I'm going to give it a 7 on the nose. And the taste carries through wonderfully on the mouth. It is immediately sweet. It delivers with this caramel and honey and all this sweet forward, with just a finish of spice slightly on the back end. I was reading the tasting notes earlier from the distillery, and I think they said something about cayenne pepper. I get nothing about cayenne in this at all. I get kind of more of that toasted marshmallow, kind of toasted oak taste coming through, more so than the burn that they're talking about with the cayenne. The more I sip it, I get a little bit more spice. I still don't think I would describe it as cayenne pepper necessarily, but it's got a little bit of a burn. But now I'm curious what it tastes like compared to this guy. So immediately off the nose, the Architect is sweeter. The cask strength, unsurprisingly, smells a little bit more ethanol-y, although it's, I believe, 115 proof and 104 proof, so they're not that far off. A little bit more of like a orangey zest kind of on the cask strength. A little bit more of less smooth, I will say. But it's still wonderfully sweet. But those French oak staves definitely deliver more sweetness. So a little bit more, shall I call it harsh for lack of a better term, and a little bit more sweet on the Architect. So, but we're here to talk about a score. So from a score standpoint, on the nose, I'm going to give Architect a 7. I'm going to go, carries through probably a 7.5 on the taste. I do really enjoy the taste of it. Big fan of the whiskeys, but I also want to be conservative about my scoring. So we're going to call it a 7. Availability, you can find it most places that I've found. It's not terribly hard to hunt for. I do believe this one's slightly harder to find than some. I know people have had trouble getting it in other places, but as far as I know, it's fairly available where I'm at. So I'm going to give it probably a solid 7 on that as well, just because I know that it's harder to find for some people. Price-wise, I think it's about $60, and I haven't seen any in secondary inflated prices on them. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I haven't seen it. So we'll give it a, I think it's worth every bit of $60 in my opinion, the way it tastes. So I'm going to give it a 9 on the price. It's really a really good whiskey. I think paying $50, $60 for that's a good price. And then finally, the cool factor. I personally think Penelope whiskeys are great. I would love to get the whole collection on my shelf. I'm looking for the rest of them to kind of round it out. I could go without the white label. That's the 80 or 90 proof, just basic Penelope, but I'd like to get the Penelope Toast. They've got the Rio, the Valencia. They have their new 9-year that just came out. I think those would be great to sample as well. And I'm going to go hunting for those over the next little bit here. So overall, I'm going to call Penelope on the cool factor scale. For me personally, my subjective score, I'm going to give them an 8. So that's my final score for the Penelope Architect. You'll see it on the screen there. I don't see it in front of me, but that'll be my final score. So definitely get yourself a bottle of Penelope Architect. It's definitely going to be scoring pretty high for myself. And as far as the cask strength goes, we'll go back and score that one again at another time to get an official score for it. But if I was to pick between the two, I think I'd have a hard time doing it. Mash bill. I forgot to mention mash bill. Let me look that up so I don't tell you the wrong thing really quick. So the Penelope Architect comes in 75% corn, 15% wheat, 7% rye, and 3% malted barley, which is basically the exact same mash bill as the cask strength. So no difference in the mash bills between the two. Penelope is 5 years age. Cask strength comes in 4 to 6 years. So this particular one, they don't list specifically on here what it is. It just says it's batch 16. So I don't know how long mine's been aged. I could be at the earlier side of the minimum of 4 years, or I could be longer than that. These are MGP products, so it's nothing that they're distilling themselves. They're just blending them together, making their own whiskey. But it is, in my opinion, some very fantastic whiskey, and you should definitely go out and get yourself a bottle of Penelope Architect. So, thank you for tuning into the Smoke&Oak YouTube channel, guys. I do appreciate you coming in, and thank you for sticking around for all this housekeeping video that I was talking about earlier. I hope to get some better videos out coming quicker and in shorter format, so they're a little bit easier to watch too, because these videos do tend to get a little bit long when I'm rambling on for a while. So we're going to get some more videos out real soon with some actual, just some tastings, and get this information out to you in my opinions as quickly as possible, because that's what you come around here for. You want to watch me sample whiskey and give you my humble opinion about said whiskey. So, once again, thanks for tuning in to the Smoke&Oak YouTube channel. My name is Justin. You have a wonderful day. Drink responsibly. Be an adult. Love you. We'll see you in the next one.